Welcome back to the Outlaw Ranch. Today is one of those days where it's just bitter cold out here in the shop. I just got off of work this morning and I haven't slept, but I've been kind of excited to get some of these parts here finished up, cleaned up, the bungs welded in, et cetera, et cetera. And it's also one of those days I'm dreading because it's time to start making things permanent. Up to this point, everything that I've done, the welds are kind of tacked together. For the most part, things are just kind of bolted on, not real tight, just kind of loosely. So anything could be taken apart and redone at any time. And that is kind of coming to an end here, as these parts are going to have to start getting finish welded. An example would be here. This is where the rear subframe brace, where it comes off that cradle and it comes in here to the rear of the frame. This is going to have to get fully welded, because once I get that shock mount modified, hopefully for the last time, I won't be able to access the weld up underneath there. So some of these parts are just going to have to be kind of more permanent, and I'm a little apprehensive, a little nervous, yada, yada, yada about doing that. But today's the day. We got to get these bungs, these heim joints and everything put into the links here that I have cut. We're going to get these cleaned up and we'll go from there. So hang on, y'all. We got some work to do. All right, I thought I'd show you guys this. This is the end here that I've cleaned up. I've cleaned up both ends on this one here. And all I'd used was just my random orbital sander here. It's kind of aggressive paper. I don't know, what is this, 60 grit it looks like. And it cleaned it up pretty fast. You can see some of the little swirl marks in there. I don't think that's going to bother me because they're going to get painted anyways. We'll go ahead and finish cleaning up these other four that we have here, and then we'll get to beveling the ends a little bit more than what the factory has done here. So stand by, we got a little bit more work to do. We'll finish cleaning these up and then we'll get to beveling. All right, y'all, we've got the ends all cleaned up here with our little random orbital sander. The next thing we have to do is put a bevel on these. So let's get that started. I installed a 60 grit. That's one of the new flat discs I got from Diablo. So we installed that. We're gonna try and experiment a little bit, try and find the best way with the angle grinder to put a nice, 30 or 45 degree bevel on this by just, rolling it here on the tabletop. If that doesn't work real well, maybe we'll go and get a couple of like the fixed casters from one of our local hardware stores and just clamp them here to the tabletop so that we can roll that tubing on those wheels. But for right now, we're going to try and do it without them, save us a little bit of money, see how it goes. Okay, so this is a little bit of beveling here that we were able to get done. This is just kind of a trial run here. I think it's going to work. It's, of course, it's not perfectly smooth. We didn't run it in a lathe or anything, and we're just rolling it on the tabletop. And as we roll it, it's a little jerky. There's a little bit of debris and stuff like that on the table. Or, the tubes have a little bit of stuff built up on them or whatever. It's going to work well enough. If we were manufacturing, this wouldn't work. When it comes to welding, I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to get a very smooth pass welding, and my welding is not good anyway. So we may still go get the little wheels just to try and do the best job possible. But for right now, just for the beveling, I think this is going to work. But I foresee a trip to the hardware store here in the near future. So stand by, y'all. Okay, we've got a few of these done now. I thought I would show you kind of what we're after here. So this is the Welding bung. And you can see that it is tapered all the way down to that shank there. And if we slide it in here, you can see that yes, there is a place for that weld to go, but even with as much as I have beveled out of this, it does not go all the way down to the shank on that weld end bung. I'm gonna have to do a little research, see if that's gonna be good enough. I think aesthetically, this needs to come all the way to that inner diameter right there. And that is a whole bunch of grinding. So we'll do a little research. I'll come back to y'all on this. I'll ask some guys that are actually good at fabricating. But we'll just keep going with what we got. We got one more here to go. This is a little factory bevel. So we'll put more on it and we'll come back when I got more answers. All right, y'all. After a couple of conversations, one of them with a brother who was a welding inspector, or is a welding inspector, and another brother who was a pipeline welder for the oil and gas industry for a long time, went to school for it and everything. They have said that this bevel is probably good, and what I need to do is probably just give it the slightest little gap right there, kind of like a valley for this weld to start in, instead of pushing it all the way in like that. Just give it a little bit here. The trick is to make sure that you can see how this wiggles a little bit, just to make sure that it is dead center there. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna give this a good run, and then I'll try and get somebody in here who actually knows something about welding and see if they agree. The idea with this bevel is to try and match this a little bit so that when this is in, this profile here would kind of just continue, that plane would just kind of continue in. That was the idea with measuring that bevel out at about 30-ish degrees or so. So this is what we're gonna try. Stand by and I'll let you see what it looks like when we're done. Here's the first attempt here. This would be the left-hand thread one. And you can tell I'm still an amateur. It's in there. We have good discoloration on both the tube and the tubing insert. So I think we're getting good penetration. The weld doesn't quite fill it all the way, as you can see. Maybe I need to turn, I don't know, maybe I need to make some adjustment, I don't know, but that was the first one I did. The second one is over here cooling. You can see it's the same thing. We have that good discoloration all the way around. You can tell where I kind of put my tacks, and I was working from tack to tack here. It's not perfect, again, not quite filled all the way, but I think it's going to be good enough. So we'll go ahead and keep going with this, and I'll show you all what a finished one looks like here in just a minute. All right, so here's two of them. They are fully welded. This was the last one I just did. Some of it looks better than other parts of it. It's solid, it won't come loose, and it's centered really well. Both of them are centered really well. It just takes time. Welding round stuff is a bear because it seems like you can only go about a third of the way around and then you have to readjust. You can see we have that good heat going all the way around, so I think these are solid. We'll know, as we put power to this thing, how solid they are. But so far, we got two of them done. We'll get these other two done, and hopefully we can start kind of putting this truck together. We gotta fully weld all these brackets and everything too. So more welding than kind of filming today, but just kind of a heads up. Stand by, we got some more work to do. Okay, we're starting to make some things a little bit more permanent here. We got this fully welded on both sides now. We're going to go over to the other side of the truck, and it's apparent that I can't follow a straight line, so still learning, but we'll keep after it. Stand by, we got some more work to do. Okay, I wanted to show you guys what I'm doing here. When I go to tack in the opposite bung, I thread in the heim just for long enough so I can make that tack. What I'm trying to do is keep these heim joints in phase so that they are bottomed out and they are facing the same direction. I made one mistake. It's over here and you guys can see it. This one here, if I put that flat, you can see that the far side is not in phase. This one is not. And I want you all to learn from my mistake. It'll be, what is that? Not quite a quarter turn out, but just a heads up. If you're trying to make this, you're trying to do your best work, the details matter. So hopefully I'll learn from my mistake and you won't repeat it. I'm gonna go ahead and unthread this heim out all the way so that I'm not distorting the metal or heat treating it any differently, and we'll go ahead and finish burning that in. So just a heads up, wanted you guys to see my boo-boo. Hopefully y'all don't make the same mistake I did. All right, we have our cradle lower links burned in. We now have our axle lower links burned in, and we now have our links all burned in. So next step here is assembly. Let's see if we can't get the lower links just on the rear axle. That's all we're ready for right now. And then we will use our PVC tubing here again, and we'll make kind of a mock-up for the upper links, both sides, and see if we can't get them to plane in that top hat. One other thing I might have made a mistake on, you guys. If this was just a regular rear axle, having it leveled this way wouldn't be such a big deal because, we might want to point that pinion up towards the output on the transfer case. But because this axle steers, we want that axle to steer, left and right. We don't want it to steer, into the ground like this. We want it to be left and right. So when I did my measurements and stuff, this axle was actually tilted at about 3 degrees or so. You can see by the shims that I have underneath that tie rod that now it is level, and that might be an issue. I don't know, we'll see. If it is, we can change things up. We could push the rear axle back, whatever we need to do. But just kind of hindsight, we're still making little mistakes here. I'm not fully aware of all the details, but let's see what it looks like. Let's see where the axle ends up, and we'll make a correction from there. Stand by, y'all. All right. Lower links are in, and the good news is plumb bobs are still lined up where they were supposed to be. They're kind of in the center of that weld on the axles, and they are the same left and right. The misalignment spacers are in. Everything fits. Things are starting to kind of come together here. I have had to, of course, come in and grind off some of the welds and kind of redo them. They just didn't look good. You can see here, there's more to do. More grinding and kind of redoing there. It's a big difference kind of when you're welding out of a comfortable position. Boy, does it make a big difference. So we'll grind those off. I may just have to bite the bullet and ask a buddy to come in and do this. But things are coming together. So let's get these upper links kind of planned in. We got to come in here and clean up our tubing with the sander so that we can get those upper brackets kind of mocked in there. So a little bit more work, y'all. Stand by. Okay, right now I am mocking up these upper links, trying to get these brackets here set where they should go. This purple mark here, which you can barely see, represents the same separation angle from the lower links on the axle to the upper links on the axle. And that's what this purple mark is. Right now I have this top piece here 6 inches from the bottom of the frame. Ideally, this second hole here probably needs to be more in line with that purple mark there. If I do that though, that makes this bottom hole completely unusable. And it would be unusable because that link is very close to the subframe kicker here. So the other issue I'm having is if we come back here, I don't have a whole lot of angularity here on these axles, or on these upper links rather. There's not very much. So one solution would be to cut the upper links and make them shorter by, a couple of inches. That would mean then we have to move this in and forward, which makes that angle more extreme on both of these, which we can do. That's not a big deal. We can use the other 2 links we made for the front links, the front lower links. We're going to end this here because I have a lot more figuring and learning to do, and it's going to take time. So unfortunately, somehow I just need to figure this out, and I'm not sure where to go with it at this point. So as always, like, share, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I have been very fortunate and blessed that I have as many subscribers as I do, and I'm very grateful to each and every one of you. And I'm very grateful also to anybody that would watch, whether you're subscribed or not. I thank you very much. And we'll catch you all in the next one. Thank you.